Hello, everybody. This is Hondo Carpenter, your Las Vegas Raiders beat writer on SI and the host of the Las Vegas Raiders Insider podcast. And we are digging in today. We're going through position groups, as you know. And today we're going to talk about defensive tackle. Obviously, I'm going to start with Christian Wilkins. We'll talk more about the update that um, Coach Carroll gave yesterday, but we'll get to that in a moment. Last year, the Raiders kept 9 defensive linemen. Okay. Sometimes you'll see teams go as high as 10, sometimes as low as 8. In the Raiders scheme, which is a forefront, usually, that a lot of teams would keep 4 defensive ends, 4 defensive tackles. Last year, the Raiders kept 5 defensive tackles and 4 defensive ends. Now, when you have a Tyree Wilson who can flex, then it makes 8 an even more of a possibility. As we go through this today, I'm going to talk to you about the guys that are absolute locks. Now, if you've not caught any of my um, um, previous podcasts in discussing the roster, the guys who are locks are okay, unless there's a trade, this person's made the 53 man. They're making the 53 man. Then it becomes who's going to be. It's like yesterday I talked to you about one guy I thought was a clear leader to take a spot, but could be beat. Lock guys, you just don't see him getting beat. So let's start with Christian Wilkins. When healthy, him and the young man obviously from Kansas City are the 2 best defensive tackles in the league. I think you can certainly. I think there's 3 now with Trey Hendrickson. Um, in fact, if I was being truthful, I think Trey Hendrickson from the Bengals is probably the best. I think he has surged into that spot. I think a lot of people would agree with me on that too, by the way, around the league. But Christian is an elite player. Now, coming back from injury, there's been a lot of he was in a boot, he may need more surgery, panic. Okay, and I addressed this before, but I'm going to address it again today. Everyone I'm talking to with the Raiders and around the situation feels very good that Christian will be ready for the start of the season. Okay. So it's not uncommon when you have a surgery to have to go back and have another. Sometimes it's the swelling was bad so in the first surgery of any surgery, you got to go back and then you get to do more. Or you got to go back and clean up scar tissue, or you use a boot if it's a leg issue, a foot ankle type, or sometimes even higher. That's not uncommon. Now, I'm not a doctor. I didn't stay at a Holiday Inn Express last night, and I'm not claiming to be one. But what I am telling you is that everybody I talk to at this point still thinks he's going to be ready for the season. Now, Pete Carroll talked about it yesterday. Um, it's been tough. It was a tough injury, but again, everybody I'm talking to seems to be pretty confident he is going to be ready for the season. He's doing everything the Raiders ask, everything the doctors ask. So at this point, there is no panic. We are literally sitting here in May 22nd. There's a long time to go. 3.5 months till the season starts. Now, as it gets closer, if things don't continue to progress, then there would be room for concern. But I'm just telling you, I think a lot of people are getting hyped into a lot, and I'm just not going to hype you. It's just, you could hype it up, but there isn't a ton of panic. There just isn't. And Christian when he's healthy, he's dominant. He's absolutely a dominant player. He matches a ton with a lot of what Max Crosby does. He's an every down guy, works hard, and Christian is an elite player. I see a lot of people moaning about it and some even calling him names, which is just ridiculously ignorant to me. But people are allowed to do whatever they want. When he's healthy, he's elite. And do I think he's the best player? No, Max is. Do I think he's the second best player on the team? No. Do I think he is a really, really good player? I do. I mean, the guy's in the top, when he's healthy, in the top 3 in the league in his position. That's an elite player. Next, Adam Butler. Gap dominance. This guy is every single thing that you want. In fact, Patriots won a Super Bowl, and guys on that team will tell you Adam Butler should have been the MVP. He is every single thing you want. He is very hard worker, respected by Max, which is a big deal. Loved by Robbie Leonard, loved by Patrick Graham. Adam Butler is the real deal. When you are in a division with a Patrick Mahomes, you got to have an Adam Butler. You have to have him. I mean, he just is so disciplined at his gaps. He's a great presence as a person in that locker room helping young players. If you didn't see my exclusive interview with him from earlier this year, you need to. You need to. Phenomenal. And when he called me at the Super Bowl and go, come on, let's do this interview, I was excited to have him on the podcast. You should go check it out. You will love it. Adam Butler is a terrific person and a great player. Solid starter, lock. He's making the team. Lock. Then you go to another guy that's a lock, and next 2 guys are rookies. Tonka Hemingway. I love that name, Tonka. Now you kids today don't understand, but when I was young, a Tonka truck was a great gift because it was a toy truck, but it was metal. You couldn't kill those things. My wife and I will walk into an antique shop and we see those old metal Tonka trucks. I ain't buying Dexter a plastic truck. I'm going to buy him a 60-year-old Tonka. What a name, Tonka Hemingway. That just is a cool name. What a Tonka Hemingway. This kid, 4th round selection, just stout. Now, does he have skill set he's got to work on? Of course he does. He's a 4th round rookie. But I like the kid a lot. And I like a lot of things about his game. Okay. He reminds me of a younger Adam Butler. And now, again, he's a 4th round rookie. And in today's world, people look at his massive frame, they look at his paycheck and think he's Adam Butler. That's not fair to Tonka. It's not fair to Tonka. He's got areas he has to grow on. But there isn't one person who leaves college that doesn't have areas to work on. But I like this kid. Now, to the best of my knowledge, I have not met any of his family. I always say that because sometimes you meet them throughout processes when you're at stuff and you don't even realize it. This young man was raised right. Good kid. Good kid. He's going to have to develop his love of watching film and he's going to have to learn how to be a pro. But who better to learn from than you're on a defensive line with Max Crosby and really for him, more importantly, Adam Butler. If I'm this kid, I go to Adam Butler and say, Adam, I'm going to be stuck to you like glue. Teach me how to be you. Now, here's the thing I like about the kid. He's teachable now. He's teachable. There's the old adage, you want people on in your organization or on your team who are fat, faithful, available, and teachable. This kid's fat. I like him. You can tell this guy was raised with parents that are like, no, you don't run the roost. He understands being taught. He's teachable. Great attitude. I'm a Tonka guy. I like Tonka coming into the draft, and I like him now. I'm a Tonka guy. He is a lock. He's making the roster. He's making it. And he's fascinating. The next guy, I don't know that I would say is a lock. What I would say is I fully expect him to make the roster. I don't think the Raiders can hide him on the practice squad. He had a better grade than where he was picked. So I think he's as close to a lock as you can be without being one. Somebody going to have to really outplay this young man. And who that might be, I'm going to get to in a minute. That's J.J. Piggee, the rookie, Ole Miss. I love this guy. Now listen, I was a Mason Graham dude. Love me some Mason Graham. But after Mason Graham, when I'm putting together my list of DTs in this draft I like, Tonka and Piggee were both on it. Okay, now I'm not pretending that Tonka or Piggee today is as good as Mason Graham because neither of them are. Could be. Could be. For sure. And I think they're in a great situation with Robbie Leonard, the best defensive line coach. Robbie Leonard is a stud. And so Piggee, he just offers so much. He's going to do all your specials, which is great. He's a guy that's going to get in there. He is super. Now Tonka Hemingway is like he's a cross between Adam Butler and Halati Nada. Okay, Piggee, super athletic. He really reminds me of he's not all of, but he's got a lot of Christian Wilkins type in him. I like Piggee now. Piggee is a guy, when you get that much bulk, I mean, you get Tonka Hemingway moving, and he's just like a bulldozer. I mean, you could just call Tonka Caterpillar, but with a name like Tonka Hemingway, you don't give him a nickname. His parents were sitting in the hospital the day he was born. All right, now how do we give him a name? He does not deserve a nickname. He's just Tonka Hemingway. Okay, Piggee, he's not a caterpillar bulldozer like Tonka. He's athletic. He's athletic. He's got running back, short yardage situations. I'm sitting here today thinking of Piggee as a lock. That's how hard I think it will be for anyone to beat him. So if they keep 4, there's your 4. Assuming Christian's healthy, which people at this point believe he will be, Adam Butler, Tonka Hemingway, and J.J. Piggee. They may keep 5. Now, I'm going to talk to you about a guy that I am not on the train. I'm driving this guy's train. I'm sorry. I don't think I've ever met his parents, but I am probably more on this train than you. This is a guy that when you just put in what he did, you're like, what? This is a guy. Now I'm going to get his name wrong, and with a name like Hondo, I apologize. But I've heard it multiple ways. So I'm going to tell you every way I've heard it. I've heard Laki, Lakai. Those are the two ways. And then Tassie and Tassi. So I'm going to call him LT. Or how about Mr. Rugby? This kid, 6'6, 348, 21-year-old. He's Samoan, so you know he's tough as nails. When's the last time you ever met a Samoan that isn't tough? Well, guess what? The next one you meet will be the first. He's Samoan, and he played for the Ashgrove GPS Rugby Club of the Queensland Premier Rugby League. Now, if you're not familiar with rugby, it is tougher than football. It's crazy. No pads. It is. I love rugby. Oh my goodness. First time I saw rugby, I was traveling overseas and there was a game and I stopped and watched and I'm like, this kid is tough, athletic. If he can get the game, he can be a superstar. I mean, the guy is 6'6", 348 and moves like a freaking ballerina. I watched his film and his feet were I literally I stopped the film and I said I called Shannon. I said, Shannon, you got to come down to my office. So she comes down to my office and I said, look at this guy. And she watched it. I go, what do you think? She goes, wow, he moves really well. And I said, he's 348 pounds. She looked at me. She goes, what? I go, 348 pounds. And that athleticism, if he can learn how to take that skill, he's got skills only God can give. You can't teach that athleticism at that size. Whatever Mr. Rugby, if he is able to wrap his mind, and he's smart, around the game, embrace the coaching, he can be not only a starter in this league, he can be a superstar. Now, that is a long way from where he is today. I laugh. The other day I did the podcast and I mentioned Amari Gaynor being a surprise player. And I said right on the podcast, now somebody's going to run and say, Hondo said, okay. And people did. Moronic that you can't listen. He's not there today. Mr. Rugby's not. But he can be. He can be. The question is going to be, what is his learning curve? Now he comes in, he's a international player pathway program guy. So I'm going to have to double check the rules about whether or not the Raiders can hide him on the roster. If they can, I fully expect him to I fully would expect him to be on the practice squad. So here is how it would work with an international pathway player. If you keep him on your 90-man roster, so you got your 53 and then you got your practice squad, he doesn't count against your number if he's on the practice squad. He's an extra player. Okay. But the problem is when he's on the practice squad, anyone can sign him. With his skill set and his athleticism, if he's able to put it all together quickly and flash this preseason, I don't think he's going to make the 53, but he could. It would not shock me because of that skill set, but he's got to learn the game. And that's just extremely difficult to do. So the Raiders would get an exemption if they kept him on the practice squad. So now they would have 91 instead of 90. But if he flashed and another team had multiple injuries, they could say, let's sign that kid from the Raiders for the rest of the year and see what he's got because there's so much upside with him. Listen, I don't think I want to make this abundantly clear. I don't think he is ready at this point for a 53-man roster in the NFL. But he goes through OTAs. He goes through the camps. He goes through preseason. He's grinding. He's putting some stuff out there. I could see a team. Let's say you're a team that's out of it. You just suck. And you're sitting there and you're Tennessee or you're Carolina and you're like, okay, listen, our season's over. What do you say we throw a flyer and go grab this guy off the Raiders practice and sign him to our 53? We're out of it because he's got such a huge ceiling. Our season's over. Let's see what we can get out of this young man. He's an interesting prospect. Again, I don't think he's a 53-man guy. I think he certainly could be a star. Christian Okoye wasn't a star when he first started playing. Azusa Pacific, but became one. This kid can. Mr. Rugby, man. He's making the practice squad. Question is, how fast does he acclimate to the game? Because he has all the skills to be great. Okay. So again, then I want to talk about Jonah Lu. This guy played really good for the Raiders last year. If they were to keep 5 right now, I think Lu would be number 5. If they don't keep 5, I think it's Christian, Adam, Tonka Hemingway, and JJ Piggee. So I think now could Lu beat somebody? Yeah, could. Maybe Piggee. I don't think, because Piggee is the other 3, Tonka, Adam, and Christian. But what if something happens in Christian's recovery and he starts out the first 4 or 5 weeks on IR? Then you could see Lu making it. But this kid, he was a good player, solid player, great kid, and just did things. He did things. I liked him a lot last year, a lot, and still like him now. The Raiders got a lot of depth here. They've got some really good experienced guys with Butler and Christian. They have a couple of guys with moderate experience and Lu and Carter. And then they got some guys that are young and coming. This is a really well-balanced room. Well-balanced room. But Jonah Lu, I'm not rooting against that kid. And if they keep 5, I think he's got a great shot at making this roster. Yeah, really good. Now let's talk about another guy, and again, I'm gonna tell you, I've heard him called Lakai, Lekai, Leaky, Fotu. 6-year guy, got a lot of experience. Guy looking to do something. A guy looking to make something happen. In fact, let me grab my note right here. I want to read one of my notes. But this is a guy that a journeyman and played at Utah, 6'5", 335. I could see him in a battle for that fifth spot because of his experience. Could totally see him battling for that. But if you're battling between a young player and an older player, now I heard this one time and I totally agree with it by a very successful head coach. A tie goes to the younger player. Younger player is usually cheaper and more upside because they're already where the vet is. So if you're Fotu and you're not really going to be a practice guy and you're trying to make the squad, again, assuming Christian's healthy, Adam and Tonka, they're locks. You're battling Lalu, who's young, but who's played well here. Robbie Leonard knows him and loves him. You're battling Piggee, who I think, I said, not a lock, but as close as you can get. I think you're looking at, okay, my battles with Lalu if they keep 5, and if they don't keep 5, my battles with Piggee, and tie goes to the younger player. Interesting stuff there. Zach Carter's a guy, played 3 years in the Natty, won last year with Vegas, did some things, wasn't, did some things. Did he jump off the paper? No, that's why they went and took 2 rookies in the draft as well as other rookies. But he's a guy that's there, does some things really well, but lacks in a lot of other areas. He's got to have a big offseason. Then here's another guy they got. 2 more rookies I want to talk about. Tank Book, 6'3", 347 from SMU. I will be stunned if he doesn't make the practice squad. He got a little something now. He again, does he have a Piggee skill set? No. Does he have a Tonka Hemingway skill set? No. But remember, we've talked about these guys before. We talked about these guys that make the practice squad and get that chance to develop because they got a little something. You watch Tank Booth and you see some stuff on him and you're like, okay. We see the young pup trying to grow into a dog. We see it. Go watch a little Tank Booth film. It'll be underwhelming. Bam! Underwhelming. Bam! And then those bams, you're like, okay. I think he's going to thrive under Robbie Leonard's coaching. Thrive under it. I am in when it comes to Tank. Not fooling myself. Practice squad guy who could become something. I like him. He's going to have to learn the game. He's going to have to learn how to be a pro. He's going to have to learn how to watch film. But that's why he is an undrafted free agent. But there's a lot of UDFAs who've made a lot of money in this league because they got the opportunity and he ran with it. He's got a chance now. And this guy hit a home run. He's coached by Robbie Leonard. I like it. Now, the next guy, again, I've heard him called Traven, Treven, Trevine. I believe it's Treven, though, is what I believe. That's the most how I've heard it pronounced. Mae, Maae, a rookie from Baylor. I think this guy's going to have a long shot to make the practice squad. I think he has a chance. I do think he's got a chance. A chance. I do think that for sure. If the Raiders keep 5 guys, I think he has a better shot. But I do like this young man. There's some things there that can be worked with. Has to be developed. Has to be. But a legitimate chance, but I'm not predicting it to make the practice. And there is a very solid group of DTs there. The Raiders' defensive tackle room is a good room and a lot of good things to look at there. Thanks for joining me today, everybody. We'll see you again tomorrow.